Okay, so this is 4.8 radian measures, and I want to break down this idea so you can understand it more conceptually, because it'll help you quite a bit understanding the meaning. This pen is driving me nuts. Okay, so here's our circle. Quick question, how many degrees are in a circle? We know 360. And as we talked about in class, how many radians are in a circle? We know it's also 2 pi. Right? If you went the full circle around, you would go 2 pi radians. Now, what does that leave us with if we just look at half the circle? So let's start here, and let's go half a ways around the circle. Well, we all know that's 180 degrees, but how many radians is that? Well, since the full circle is 2 pi, we know that half of that would just be pi. So it might be easier to think of it in terms of 2 half circles. That may help. So for example, if I'm looking at pi thirds, that is 1/3 of pi. 1/3 of pi. These are the same thing. 1/3 of pi and pi thirds. And so take your half circle, which is pi radians, and cut it into 3 equal parts. Okay, there's 3 equal parts. If we were to convert this in degrees, we would just look at this first third, right? This is 1/3 pi, or pi thirds. Now, how many degrees is that? Well, think about it. If half a circle is 180 degrees, what's a third of 180 degrees? Or what's a third of half a circle? All you do is take 180 and you divide it by 3, which gives you 60 degrees. Okay, let's try with another one of these. Well, let's go to 12 because we're still working with thirds. We're still working with thirds here. So 4 pi thirds, you'll notice, is greater than 3 pi thirds. And 3 pi thirds is just pi. So it's half the circle. 3 pi thirds is half the circle. Now, if we're going to 4 pi thirds, we're going 1 more pi thirds. Okay, so here's our circle. We know that we have 1 pi third, 2 pi third, 3 pi thirds. And so if we break the other half of the circle up just the same into thirds, we have 1 pi third, 2 pi third, 3 pi third, 4 pi thirds. So essentially here, we are 1 pi thirds past 180, right? So you can think of it as 3 pi thirds, or 180 degrees, plus another pi thirds, which we already said pi thirds is 60 degrees. So this is another 60 degrees. What do we end up with? 240 degrees. So should have at some point developed over the rest of this school year an idea of seeing here 4 pi thirds and going, oh, that's about right here. That's about that many degrees. It's greater than 180 by how much? Approximately 60. The bigger the number, the harder it gets, but the main idea here is you can conceptualize it because you can break the circle into that many parts. So here we know 4 pi thirds, we said, is 240. Let's double check it with the conversion you guys learned. Because, well, you can type this into the calculator and that's all good. It's very important you understand the conceptual part. So 4 pi thirds times 180 over pi, the pi's cancel, and we can actually divide the denominator by 3, that gives us 1, and the numerator by 3, that gives us 60. And we end up with 4 times 60, which gives us 240 degrees. Precisely what we thought it would be. Now let's look at this one right here. 11 pi sixths. I want you to think for a moment. Here's a circle. If this is where you start your angle at right here, where do you think the angle is going to end? Does it go right here? Does it go right here? Does it go right here? Where's it ending up? I want you to think about it for a moment. 11 pi sixths. I'll start us out with looking at the half circle in terms of sixths. So if we were to break this into 6, we should have this right here, and then we should have 1, 2, 3, and 1, 2, 3, right? This is 1 pi 6, 2 pi 6, 3 pi 6, 4 pi 6, sorry, 4, 5 pi 6, and then 6 pi 6, right? That's half a circle. 6 pi sixths is just pi. So, what is 11 pi sixths? Well, the way I like to look at it is 11 pi sixths is 1 pi sixth less than 12 pi sixths. And 12 pi sixths, so I'm going to write that out, pi sixths less than 12 pi sixths. And we know that 12 pi sixths is 2 pi, a full circle. So if you think about it, here's your full circle, 12 pi 6. We go all the way around, and we are actually removing 1 pi sixth from it. We're removing 1 pi sixth from it, so it'll be about that big, maybe about this big. So if you think about it, your angle should look like this. Pretty close to 360, right? Pretty close to 360 degrees. Now you could say, okay, well pi sixths is, let's do this in black. This cancels, we get 180 divided by 6, which gives us 30. See, and this makes sense, right? Because if you looked at the half circle, you said this is 180 degrees. And so, if you were to break 180 degrees into 6 parts, you'd have 30 each. 30, 60, 90, 120, 150, 180. So, pi sixths equals 30 degrees. Now, if, like in this case, we're looking at our circle, if we go 30 degrees less than 360, we are going 330 degrees. So what we should be seeing is that when we convert 11 pi sixths, we should be getting 330 degrees. So let's try that. Pi cancels, and then we end up with, well, we can divide the top and bottom by 6, divide this by 6, you get 1, divide this by 6, you get 30, and you'll notice 11 times 30 equals 330. So 11 pi sixths is 330 degrees. This angle here is 30 degrees less than 360 degrees. In other words, 330. And I want you guys to be able to look at this 11 pi 6 and say, well, that's not quite 2 pi or 12 pi 6. So it's going to be somewhere a little bit less than 360.